Hello. Alrighty then. Good evening and or morning / night for all the wonderful people out there. I am going to try something a little different tonight. It is 8 p.m. our time here in the wonderful state of Texas Central Time. So I was thinking, Mrs. Joel and I were talking, that there are lots of good live streams out there for basically almost every other subject, particularly religious stuff, which is great, and I'm glad people are doing that. People arguing about the Bible and bashing each other about Christianity and atheism and all that good stuff, and that's fine. And lots of stuff about biology and evolution. Last night we had a fairly interesting conversation about climate change, but I was kind of thinking that there's just not enough just really good groups out there that are kind of just focusing on scientific minded stuff, So and not just evolution, huh? Oh, good, thank you. But just other things in general, science topics in general. People like to kind of focus on certain aspects. That's fine, but there is a seemingly underserved community out there of just like-minded people who want to talk about science in general. And I'm subscribed to all the best science-minded stuff I can find on YouTube. I got Mark Rober, he's my favorite NASA guy. I got Everyday Astronaut, and I'm subscribed to all my old SpaceX buddy stuff. I mean, it's just there's lots of, what do you call it? There's lots of community content out there. And one way was intriguingly and very graciously offering for me to start to create some stuff like that as well, which I very well may do still. But there's just not a lot of just live stream, not a lot of open, fun discussion groups like there are for a lot of these religious groups. So that's what I'm going to see if I can do tonight. I might even have to create a new channel, I think, to retitle, because I created this particular what do you call it, YouTube account years and years ago, 2006, I think, and that was back when I was more focused on just game stuff and social media stuff, politics in general. So if I'm having a theory, and if anybody wants to join tonight, you don't have to be a scientist. Everybody is always welcomed in any and all expertise levels, as long as you can promise to be civilized, is my only caveat, as usual. But I would love to hear just ideas as well. So, and one of those was, if I create a new account, I'd love to hear others' feedback on this, that was titled something more specific about having more live scientific topics, or just community. I'm looking to see what kind of the community can be started, and certainly if there's one out there, if there's already groups out there that do have regular live stream conversations, like Praise's channel and SFT's and LPP's channel, they're wonderful. And I strongly recommend people that know what I'm talking about, these other channels, to, and I can help advertise for those that want to hear more, to go there. And I try to, I'm subscribed to them. I'm belled and stuff, so that I can catch every chance that I see them online. So, and I can help promote those guys. However, would like to just expand those topics. LPP likes to talk a lot about the information side of biometrics and genomics and stuff, which is great. I've helped try to contribute a little bit to that myself. Standing for Truth likes to talk a lot about the science behind biology in general, I think, which is great. Young Earth and older stuff, and love trying to share there. And then Praise likes to talk a lot about more of the biblical side of things, the exegesis and all the cool sermons he likes to have. And it's just, I don't know. And so there's, and I've asked a lot of my friends that are not on YouTube regularly, the professionals and whatnot, and it seems that those channels like these in general, are just literally plagued, poisoned, as Gavin put it. I like the way he put it the other night, with the people that are just incapable of being kind, decent human beings, no matter what, whether they're religious or atheist or whatever. And so, yeah, so that's the reason why a lot of my fellow professionals and my friends, personal friends, don't want to necessarily come here. at first they seem interested, and then they see some of the content, and then they change their minds from other channels because of the toxicity. And I don't blame them. I've often, and I think that's the whole reason, the purpose for a lot of these abusive type toxic people is they want to drive away the good people. That's their purpose, and so they'll hyper focus on the people that they think that can damage their goal the most of trying to create, just good civilized content that stops their ability to be, the religious bigots out there, but just genuinely interested in real topics, basically, educate and enjoy, have fun, even has some humor about things, and show the other side, of the future of what what humanity's going to do, and it can, like Einstein said, science and religion are interdependent. It's the same thing. You can do that. You can preach the gospel while sharing God's science and showing all the different new technologies and the future plans that we've got for humanity. We can do all of the above, right? And so a lot of people out there, of course, are hostile to that. So we could try to not only avoid those, but try to create the communities that can attract those that want to have these conversations that otherwise don't seem to be forming because of the trolls, for lack of a better word. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for help from anybody and everybody out there that have that same genuine interest to want to just have a fun, inclusive community. And I'm very thankful for the people that I've, the few that I've attracted here, like with Paul and, just, we got Cheryl, we got Jesse, we got Brandon, we got Bruce, we got, all kinds of just really good people that can come here and talk. So, and of course, all you guys that have been coming into my channels recently and such, that, God bless you and thank you. And again, I'm interested in just spending a little bit more time with you guys and others to create that environment that we really want to enjoy. So that requires knowing what others wanted to talk about. And so that's where I try to keep my channels more open. And if we have to go, I'll experiment with more focused topics, maybe, and maybe even do the closed content type presentations that a lot of professionals seem to stick to out there. And that I can, and I've had thoughts of that too. Doing what a lot of these guys do, where they'll do reviews or after shows, as they call it, of other content on YouTube. But I could try that, but for some reason that's not quite as fun for me. I'd rather talk with real people live and with real issues dynamically, So I don't know. I do all the above. We'll see how it goes, but just looking for feedback. But yeah, so yeah, I don't have anything particularly interesting to share tonight. I was doing a little bit of research on some stuff, but Starship Serial Number 20 is coming online. But stuff that's interesting to me that it's not as interesting just to talk about, without other people that are interested in. I want to hear other people's interests and feedback. I need feedback, especially if there's civilized disagreement. Need to test confirmation biases. Things that all those bigots out there don't want to do. I like to test biases. So, trying to see how to get away from the riffraff and have fun. Get a few moments, 2, 3, 4 hours every day or so. See what I can do to maximize not just my fun, but fun for others out there that are like-minded, that just don't seem to get enough civilized or protected, communication channels to share. Whether you're a Christian or not. Just the only preference, the only request is that you can be civilized. You can be patient. You can allow other people to speak, take turns and share. Genuine, like going out to eat, and you're at the table, whatever, you're at some party, and you genuinely have to share. You have to be civil. But yeah, so I don't know if I stressed that enough. So the people I've tried to see if I could attract and try to get to join there, they've changed their minds. They're like, no, it's too toxic, it's too uncivilized. Most scientific minded people, they avoid these kinds of social media drama like the plague. I don't like it. I think I benefit from being a prior military service, so I've dealt with drama that these religious trolls could never possibly dream to be able to push on others. So it's just child's play. It's just petty, So I guess I'm a little more steeled to it, and I can push back. That's what of course makes them hate me more, but it's fine. That's fine. I can tolerate their hate. But I don't want to tolerate their hate speech. I don't want to. Again, I want to create the environments and find the environments. Again, if there's this is multi-directional. If others out there that are hearing this that may have caught my channel or just have already known, that know of some just other genuinely altruistic scientific discussion groups out there, please let me know. I'm searching. I've been trying my best to find out there. There's a little bit of stuff starting up like in MeWe and whatever, and all these other alternative social media things, because Facebook and YouTube, Google in general, all these big tech problems, which we could, if somebody was interested in going into more, that also drives those of us in tech and science away. Big tech has become anti-scientific. They're anti-tech even. This stuff's old. Their only real technological gain is to build massive infrastructure. But that makes it convenient, I guess, for people, but it's not high tech. It's certainly not the way of the future. So anyway, a lot of other people like myself, that they'll go other places, but it doesn't garner the same atmosphere. It doesn't garner the same larger group of people, because it creates niches basically, which I don't really care for. I want to avoid niches. I've got enough niche, communities, over all these decades doing all this stuff. And it's safer, it's easier, to talk, but it's not good for when you want to expand your own knowledge base and again, test your biases. Like Heinlein said, I'll never learn from a man who agreed with me. So a lot of these the protected little niche groups out there, they fall into that. They get to the point where it's an echo chamber, essentially. Better way of putting it. I need to figure out how to make. I need to get more proficient with StreamYard, or even a better. Let me see there, Mr. Gavin. Greetings, sir. Rock stars. Gavin is so awesome. How do I do this? Okay, the banner.
Banner.
Yeah, I've played with this a little bit. There's these little features here in StreamYard too. Ooh, overlay. Here we go. So I've got one saved overlay. All the antagonizers like to pick on me about Einstein and Spinoza's Christianity.
You know what one I think you should have your Zer banner?
What to put Highlands up? What?
The one about God imparting his knowledge to you. With the moon on it.
Ooh. This man.
Yeah.
Where's Highlands? Hey, look. Does that work? How's that look?
Let me check my side. Hang on.
Yeah, Gavin, I got the StreamYard link up above if you'd like to join and chat. Hey, look, that works. Banners.
It works. Look.
Woohoo, yep. And then Mrs. Joel recommends this. This is something that she shared with me. I don't know how many years ago. At least 2 or 3 years ago, right?
Yeah, a couple years probably.
And it caused me to fall in love with her in the Lord all over again. This is one of my favorites. This is what the Lord says. He who made the earth, the Lord who formed it and established it. The Lord is his name. Call to me, and I will answer you and tell you great and unsearchable things you do not know. Love that. That is science. Reach out to God. He will teach us. He will tell us. God wants us to want to know. So yeah. Some translations say he'll tell us great and unsearchable things of the future, but I like this translation. Things you do not know. It's more generalized. So yeah. NASA astronauts, for the first time they were slingshotting around the moon, what did they do? They quoted Bible verses. And all the atheist religious fanatics out there, all the Madeline O'Hare's, and started trying to sue NASA. She wasn't harmed. She lost her lawsuit, but NASA had to, how to hire lawyers. They had to create a whole new department to answer these anti-scientists. Mr. Richard, welcome, sir. You are, in my opinion, a scientific-minded person as well. So I would love to hear from you if you feel like joining tonight. Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah. If you guys didn't hear my intro, I'm kind of looking for kind of a reach out, general call to help create more of a community for just like-minded, more scientific-minded people that aren't so much, and nothing against those that want to talk about religious matters, which we can. Science and religion are the same. It's as every scientist will admit. But we want to be able to create maybe a new community that talks more about things other than the topic we're talking about. Mr. Richard, hello, sir.
Peace and respect, Brother Joel.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm better than I deserve since about 2012, and it's been so long, I don't expect it to change.
Hey, I like that attitude.
Like I'm not saying I'm demanding it of God, but since He's been doing it all this time, I think He's just going to keep doing it.
Yeah, well, He did promise that good things will come to those who trust in the Lord.
It really has.
Yeah.
But you were talking about not personal testimony, anecdotal or otherwise. You were talking about science and how you think that the living Word of God is talking about further revelation, not only in personal revelation, but in technology, etc. Yes?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, sir. Yeah,
I believe
all
so
the above.
too. I think it is all of the above, and I think there's no shortage because we're so ignorant of what the truth is. There's no shortage of things for God to reveal to us. Forgive me laughing.
I'm going to share another banner of mine. Yeah, that is part of what I'm hoping to do, is try to attract those that not only understand and acknowledge that, but here we go. Technology is a gift of God. After the gift of life, it is perhaps the greatest of God's gifts. Mother of civilizations, arts, and of sciences. So I'm looking for those that not only understand that, but we can enjoy talking about all of it. We can talk about the love and the grace of God. We can talk about the gospel, while at the same time relaying how all of our science and technology are just as important as how we relay the love of God.
I think that's intrinsically true, and maybe more true in my theory than yours.
Uh-oh, that's a challenge.
Here's why I would say that. If I asked you what does the outside of indifference look like, it's already a nonsensical question. Okay. But my point in asking, what's that?
You mean apathy? Indifference?
Sure, yeah. Mm-hmm. My point in asking is that immaterial constructs don't have an outside of something. They don't have that.
Okay.
So when the Bible describes the exterior, the shape, the decorations, the total count, the coloration, to the point that there's actually an overlay of a rainbow-like light on the outside of the throne of God, or the throne in the throne room, chapter 4 of Revelation. There's a lot of detail there describing what heaven looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why we would even need a description of the outside of it, or how there could be an outside of something that is not solid.
You're reminding me two things. One is how rainbow light is, when you combine it, it's white light. So there's multi-dimensions of colors of light. Then you're reminding me of Mr. Max Planck here, talking about how there is no matter as such. There's nothing. Science has confirmed a century ago that materialism or material, whatever nature, doesn't technically exist. Everything is immaterial. Everything.
an interesting. Why are they saying that? I don't understand that.
That is the fundamental conclusion of quantum physics, that everything that we think is material, every atom, every molecule, every piece of quanta, subatomic particle, is all measurable down to something that we just pretend for now to call a piece of quantum material. It's not even material. It's just a mathematical concept. It's a thought. It's a description, a measurement. And we use these measurements to do other mathematical calculations for things like spin rates and try to understand different weak and strong gravitational type forces, electromagnetic forces. But they're not material. Everything that we think is quote unquote material is reduced or reducible down into these non-material, immaterial, whatever you call it. What he describes brilliantly. This mind is the matrix of all matter. And this has been what do you call it? Basic science, for lack of a better word. This has been rudimentary science for over a century now.
It's I got to admit, it's really hard for me to grasp that concept. And I wonder, is this lending more toward why it is that we influence things around us, or how it is that we influence things around us? Or is this lending more toward, because I mean, I can't imagine that Max Planck was saying something akin to all of this is a hologram.
It can be. It's more so based on how God influences things, how God creates and influences, and then allows us to share in some of that influencing with certain boundaries, essentially. So it's, a lot of people will take that and try to go further with it to describe things like how, like Copenhagen, for example. He would describe how people ourselves can influence reality, which there is to a degree, but he would say that all reality is influenced individually and whatnot on a conscious level. So there's some extremes that people can take to this that might be causing some of that confusion. But as far as the fundamental aspect of it is, it's that there's a global consciousness, there's a global mind that is regulating, creating, that's outside of all of this material stuff, including our own local consciousnesses, our own local mind. So there's a larger influencer, essentially. That helps answer.
Is there some reason we have to say it's a mind?
I don't know what else there is to describe it as, because it's a conscious thinking entity. I don't know. What else would you want to try to call it?
I don't know.
It's creative.
I'm exploring. I don't know what to make of this statement.
Dude, so okay, you're already, look at that. I don't know if you've ever had any kind of, experience or education in quantum physics already, but you're already starting to do what I've been craving. That professional quantum physicists I've worked with, this is what we do for fun while we're waiting for, some plasma etch machine to spin up or something. So yeah, go ahead. Thank you.
So, I mean, I'm just bouncing around ideas, and just seeing what happens, bouncing them around.
You are using your mind. Yes, sir. Thank you.
I'm trying to think about it. Yes, that's what I'm trying to do here. So, all right. If it's true that, okay, so what's keeping this from being just another fundamental force of nature, for instance?
That it acts outside of nature?
It acts outside of nature. Okay, so because all of the physical is affected by this thing, then it can't be part of the physical, something like that?
Not only that, but for anything to happen differently in the observable, measurable physical realm, the coherency side of reality, as we call it, it requires basically an intelligence, a mind, whatever you call it, a consciousness, to be able to create and think of and do the things that are currently not normal for the physical coherent state.
Not normal for the physical coherent state.
So for something new to happen requires an intelligence to think of doing something new. Yeah. It's not part of the normal. Yeah.
I think that's philosophically obvious that once a person it is once you consider it, there's really no denying it.
Mm-hmm.
That
I would agree, but I'm just saying.
I can't recall who said it because I'm bad at this because I'm new at this, and I just haven't said these things often enough. But I know that they're true, and I think even at first glance, this is just obviously true that all information is habitually associated to conscious mind. That's a quote. I didn't write that. It's a good quote. I like.
As an information scientist, I concur with that. Yes, sir.
Right. So I think we have no choice. There's 0 examples of information coming from a non-conscious mind. That does not happen.
Correct.
So it's along those lines, saying that there is intrinsic information within the material world, which can be reduced to pretty much thought, is highly suggestive that there is a mind that is keeping, maintaining, creating something like that.
Exactly.
Okay.
I mean, there's ways. There's more. What do you call it? Again, fundamental ways of describing all of that. Things that like a freshman entry course level into quantum physics. There's the foundational description of all that.
I got to tell you, man, I don't understand these things, and they kind of weird me out.
Einstein called it spooky science, so you are not alone, sir. was it Bertrude or is it? No, it was Feynman, I think, that said that if someone says that they understand quantum physics, that they don't. So yeah, you're fine.
Good company being confused. Okay, that's refreshing.
Yep. Yeah, and I think it's meant to be that way because again, let me get my little banners going. I'm experimenting with banners tonight.
Now, a lot of people would argue with me this point, but I think actually there's fundamental things about the Bible itself that reflect that kind of attitude from in the mind that it came from.
Yes, that's exactly. That's why I'm showing the Jeremiah 33, 2-3 reference again. God wants us to know. He wants us to ask. He doesn't make it. He doesn't make he makes some things explicitly obvious.
Right.
Like the reason for his death and resurrection and things like that in the law. But there's other things he keeps questionable or ambiguous, hidden. Thank you. Perfect word. It's for us to be interested in asking.
Sure. Well, what would you say of the Christian that claims perfect knowledge of the Bible, where the Bible says, I have hidden manna that I've yet to give you?
That is false, because the Bible itself says that we have to rely on the Holy Spirit to learn all things, which the Holy Spirit exists outside of the Bible.
So wait, not the church fathers?
I don't know. See, church fathers, that's always bothered me as well. I am a church father. All of us, every Christian, God is not a respecter of persons. Everything that the first apostle that Moses learned, and Peter and Paul and Philip and all those guys learned, we learned.
And that quote I gave you, yeah, and that quote I gave you was Jesus talking to the apostles, saying, "I haven't told you everything yet," and then the story ends.
Amen.
He never does tell them.
Well, he told them that there'll be a teacher, a comforter,
right? The
Holy Spirit. Yeah, love it. And that's the pursuit of science. That's what we're trying to do, is to learn and understand the things that God, I think God's literally begging us, all of us, to want to learn, to study, so that we can be part of his creation, to be part of the healing process, for example, for medical technology, to be part of the exploration process for space exploration and whatnot, and oceanography and stuff like that. He wants us to be part of his creation. And so to do that, we have to want to learn to know things that we just don't.
You want to hear something stupid? Just a thought I had.
I doubt that you could say something stupid, but try it.
Okay, I'm going to give it my best. I'm going to give it my best go.
Okay.
What if the placebo effect is actually the larger group and not the anomaly?
It sounds like a given, but I don't know.
It sounds like a given. I just wonder about that, because the reason we say that the smaller group is the placebo effect is because it's the smaller group.
Well, it just depends on what you're testing, really.
Well, I'm talking about body chemistry is what I'm talking about, and and things like. And I'm not anti-vax, I'm not, but I'm glad they work. That's great. I'm not sure I believe the explanation of why they work. I'm not sure I believe that.
That's extremely healthy, and I agree. And I think the better way I can explain, I think what you're asking about as far as placebo goes, is that there's such a vast complexity that even the things that we think some sort of external or artificial chemical whatever test thing, that's why I said it depends on what you're testing. The things we think are affecting the system might not be affecting it. It might be something completely different that's not even part of the placebo. It's just another thing, another reaction outside of both tests that you can't quantify.
Right. You can be getting a false positive that gives you information. You can.
Correct. And false negatives. Yep.
You can get false negatives to give you information. Yes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's part of what I'm doing for a living now. It's kind of annoying. Don't get me started on that.
Well, you have fun with that now. Okay, I'm gonna keep with construction. I'm gonna nail boards together and stuff. Okay.
Sure. Everybody thinks, some people think they glorify science. They say, "Oh, I want to do this is for science," and they start to do it. And they're like, "This sucks." So yeah, it's hard work. It's like any other field. Yeah, no, please continue. That's what I crave. You're already giving me. See, I prayed for the Lord to help give me some ideas, some fun, and you're already doing it, whether you realize it or not. Thank you.
I'm often humbled by what our Father has done to my brain since 2012. I am often humbled. I'm not kidding you, man.
Yes, sir.
Like
new creation. Mm-hmm.
I used to be so proud of myself, like insanely proud. I really was.
Okay.
It was terrible. And I treated people awfully. And I thought I was better than everyone else,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I look back at it now and I go, oh, I was claiming everything that God was handing me to cause me to survive. I thought that was me doing that. How do you like them apples?
That instantly reminded me of John. I'm sure you've heard his testimony. How he was, he was kind of just being rebellious on purpose until he almost died. He was like,
no, I don't know which John. John LPP?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I didn't know that. No.
Yeah. He shared it publicly, so I hope he doesn't mind if and you can ask him directly as well if you'd like. But he was very arrogant and just was enjoying life. He had high rollers, he put it, and it's like God told him that he had a limited time, whatever, and he had some sort of promise that he made with God, but he was just kind of ignoring his promise. And I forget, was it in a car accident or something where he had a severe brain trauma injury that he wasn't supposed to survive from, but not only did he survive from it, but it just made him more whole, like you just described. That's what I'm saying. You remind me of John. So.
Right.
And now that's all he does.
I have a story very similar to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't almost die. Not that time. Not when I admitted God. I wasn't near death or something like that.
Right. Yeah. No. And again, I'm just thanking you and for the appreciation of meeting at least one other person and others that want to join as well. Just for the rest of my life, that want to explore these things without all the bickering.
Well, here's the problem I think that you're going to have is it's very easy for us, if I take myself as an example, to be very proud of the gifts God gave me and claim them as my own.
Correct.
And then that pride gets in the way of me being able to learn things, me being able to share things without coming across as arrogant, of course. In fact, I was arrogant. I wasn't coming across arrogant. I was arrogant.
Right.
And part of that arrogance, I think, is oftentimes denial of God himself, and thereby they're not going to come on a Christian channel and have this conversation.
Correct.
I never learned from a man who agreed with me. I love that. I say it like this. I never learned from yes. What did you ever learn from yes? Not a thing.
The yes man mentality.
No. I mean confirmation of something that you think is true. If I say the sky is generally blue and you say yes, what did I learn? Nothing.
Right.
If I start saying, well, the sky is blue because the curvature of the earth causes wavelengths to break. If I say something wrong and you go, well, no, actually it's refraction because the moisture and the most refracted thing to the human eye is blue, thereby human perceives it as blue. I go, really? That's cool. I'm going to go look into that. And I learned something,
Okay. Sorry.
So I never learned from yes, not a darn thing. So what I want is a bunch of no's.
Well,
that's what I want.
No, exactly. I'd like to phrase that exact concept by saying I need to challenge my confirmation bias. I need disagreement.
Sure. So make an assertion.
For me, for now, let's see. Okay, now he's got me on the spot, Kelly. What was I talking about earlier that I wanted to learn more about?
That you wanted to learn more about?
Yeah, I was researching some stuff earlier, but I'm forgetting now. It was something to do with rocket science stuff, but it's probably too specific.
Well, it might be too specific, but all that means in real terms is you're going to spend a long time explaining what you're talking about. But that doesn't mean things won't happen in my brain, and I might say something that you haven't thought of. It could still happen.
Oh, Lord. So, yeah.
I think there's actually value in that because a person can become, I think, accidentally trapped.
Yes.
In a certain job skill for long enough. I think you can become accidentally trapped. There's always that possibility of the new guy that comes in and says something absolutely insane.
Yep.
Or woman comes in and says something absolutely insane. Everybody and all the old folks go, "You're out of your freaking mind," and then it shows to be true later. You know,
it clicks, right?
That's happened several times.
So many times.
Yep.
Like, funny.
We used to try to almost codify that back at SpaceX. We wrote everything down, and we had this terrible problem with what they described as tribal knowledge because we had so many people that would come and go and whatnot. That yeah, so it was real hard to just keep up on things and to train things, whatever. But we maintained that mentality that the dumbest idea that didn't seem to work, just like you described, in the past. Might be the exactly that's how SpaceX is so, and other companies like theirs is so successful because they applied even the dumbest ideas that were proven wrong. In the future, they were what solved the problem. In fact, that reminds me of another Max Planck's quote.
Well, that makes me doubt the phrase "proven wrong."
Exactly, you're exactly right.
What does that mean? Proven wrong now?
Proven wrong for now. It's the best way to describe that. But in fact, let me get my other little Max Planck-ism here that you may enjoy. Oop. See, I've been sharing it as a photo thing in Windows, but now I'm trying to train myself to share it as an overlay.
This is completely off topic, but you're most likely the right kind of weirdo to have looked into. Yeah, let's do this first, though.
No, I was just laughing. I like that. That was a compliment. The right kind of weirdo. But yeah.
Right.
We have no right to assume that any physical laws exist, or if they exist up to now, that they will continue to exist in a similar manner in the future.
Yeah.
That is
that's the red barn fallacy, isn't it?
The
red barn fallacy. I'm driving through Idaho. I see 1,000 red barns in a row. What color is the next the next barn going to be?
There you go. Yep.
You have no idea.
That is confirmation bias, right?
Right on. It's a problem.
Yep. So what were you going to bring up?
The right kind of weirdo. It was not my personal interests, and it was not my own curiosity. But when I saw things true in the Bible that were confirmed in reality, I said, that's pretty crazy. This Bible thing is actually correct about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And within the reading frame I've accepted on the Bible, it revealed to me certain ideas that I had no idea about, and went and looked at them, and they were also true. And it led me onto a course of study where I learned a lot of really pertinent information quickly, things I didn't care about before. Like I said, I'm a construction worker.
Mm-hmm.
But do you have any opinion on the career of the defamation of Halton Chip Arp?
Let me look it up.
Yeah.
Halton Christian Chip Arp was an American astronomer who was known. or was known for his 1966 Atlas of Peculiar Galaxies.
That's funny. They should mention that.
Okay, that's just the Wikipedia.
It's true. It's what he's known for, but it's also what got him kicked out of the community.
Okay.
He's known for that, but he became he became the black sheep of the family, if you will.
Paul from England was bringing up what was his name, Kelly? The guy from Australia that got kicked out. He was a physicist that was doing studies for the oceanic fishbone stuff. What's it called? My brain's having farts. That's some Joel over there distracting the fire out of me.
Oceanography?
Oh my gosh, Kelly. Yeah, the reefs, the bone.
Okay.
Coral reefs. There we go. And he was pointing out how the coral reefs are not being destroyed because of global climate change or whatever. So he got kicked out of some famous thing.
That figures.
Yeah, we were talking about that a little bit like yesterday. But
so if you went to NASA.gov and used their search engine to look for Halton Arp, you would find that Halton Arp has more bright stellar objects named after him than any human in the history of the planet.
Cool.
And his peers were referring to him as the next Galileo. Like, that's the kind of reverence his own peers gave him.
Okay.
He sat in Hubble's chair and stared out at the skies, but he noticed things that he thought did not match what he was taught about reality, about astronomy. And he made note of them, and he didn't write only that one book that you just read the title of. He wrote 3. And as a collective work, it pointed out that there are basics in astronomy that must be incorrect. And they pushed him over to the Max Planck Institute, which is because some place like that wants free thinking people.
Right.
Whereas, the tight-knit brothers that is astronomy, astrophysicists, etc., apparently do not want that.
It reminds me of Hugh Ross.
Hugh Ross doesn't. He's a mold breaker, no doubt. I'm not certain I agree with him on all points, but he's not locked into a mindset and unable to explore. That's for certain.
Right, and it's not just him in his own mind, but something he had said that I'm going to look up real quick. That your comment instantly reminded. He said astronomers who do not draw theistic or deistic conclusions are becoming rare, and even the few dissenters hint that the tide is against them. Jeffrey Burbidge of the University of California at San Diego complains that his fellow astronomers are rushing off to join the First Church of Christ of the Big Bang.
Yeah.
So there's definitely been long, hard shakeups within astrophysics, and of course Jastrow and them. Yeah, so I wish that I knew more about this guy because he sounds exactly like my kind of cookie. And I'm reading up on
him. He's easy to learn about, and I actually made notes on his work in order to participate in debates with various people because he noted that radio lobes or quasars, their redshift is directly proportional to their linear distance from a known near galaxy.
Right. They're tied to a galaxy.
They're tied to a known near galaxy, so they're not at the edge of the universe at all, first of all, and they're not super dense and super large. That's the second problem. They only appear that way because they're so close. Right.
It was all assumption that they were far. Exactly. Yeah.
It was all, this has been disproven and generally accepted now?
Yes. The whole theory, once the NASA's WMAP and Planck, the ESA's Planck telescopes were deployed, and NASA's trying to get their James Webb telescope up now. The idea that the universe is expanding as an explosive event, as that Catholic guy that Lamontre's guy first postulated in the 1800s, that's been gone. It's literally like a piece of
so relieved
now. Yeah. Yeah. We haven't, the textbooks haven't changed yet, but that takes a couple decades.
you said, I spoke over you. You said they literally something. What?
That the universe it's described as literally as a piece of cloth being stretched. And all the superstructures, the superclusters, they're just as well formed near the center of the beginning of the universe as they are near the edge. So all structures, not just quasars and galaxies and whatnot, they're all not exactly the same age, but they're not old. The old stuff should be at the outer edges, as the original, hypothesis was presented by the
You would
Catholic guy.
think so.
Yeah, but that's not true anymore. We know for a fact that it's not true.
Wow, I wonder how many generations it'll take before people quit quoting it.
That reminds me of another Max Planck quote. Let me bring that up for you because you'll love. This is all old stuff. There's nothing new under the sun. Max Planck.
I haven't read Max Planck. You'll forgive me. These are all interesting thoughts. Sorry.
Nope. Oh, this is Jeremy. He said Max Planck says this is in the turn of the last century. He says a new scientific truth does not triumph by convincing its opponents and making them see the light, but rather because its opponents eventually die and a new generation grows up that's familiar with it. So yeah, that is big.
Did he also say science moves forward one funeral at a time, or was that someone else?
I think might be a good summary of what he said. Yes.
Okay, it might be a summary of it.
Yep.
Fair enough. Because that one I've heard.
Yep. It's good stuff.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, yes, if you're brave enough and you're founded enough, and you move a small enough step forward through the peer review process, and you can get enough people to agree with you, then you can disprove something existent and become a rock star. But man, that's not an easy thing to do.
Well, finish your thought. I'll mention that. That's not science.
That's not science.
Yeah. Peer review
I'm having the hardest time finding someone who will review my paper on David and Goliath and critique it honestly and thoroughly.
Okay.
And all I've gotten is a few people that said it covers too many topics. I can't review all of them. And because that, they didn't even review what they could review.
I was thinking I could offer if it's under, a dozen pages or so, I could give it a try. But if it's too long,
well, it depends on what you mean by too long. The total summary of the idea. I mean, a lot of it is evidence to support the idea, like definitions of words, which a person does not need to read all the definitions of words. And I broke down each verse and translated it directly, and then gave the implied meaning to follow that. And you don't really need to read all that either, but you could go to just the summary of the total story in modern plain English in the reading frame that I've accepted, and just compare that to the known science that we have today and say, is that possible or not? And you probably end up with a total of about, 15 pages or so. But altogether, it's 150 pages.
Altogether, it's what pages?
150.
Are you doing okay,
Ooh,
Marty?
yeah, that's a thesis. Well, I mean, you shared your thoughts on some end time stuff. I'm trying to remember the details now. It's been a few days.
Oh yes, man.
You're talking about. Oh gosh, give me a quick reminder. It was
a quick reminder of what I said in a conversation about end times.
That was like a week ago. Hold on. Oh my brain. Oh
well, my general understanding is that everything past the fifth day of creation, though using history and historical like events to describe something, is only talking about end times and nothing else.
Right, and
it's everything's a foreshadowing in the Bible.
That jostled just the right thought. It was about your idea about the Sabbath being more about heaven. And even though that's not, a traditional, whatever, Orthodox, whatever, it made perfect sense. So yeah, I mean, other than the length of your essay, I think that your thoughts are valid to examine. So I
could chop it down for you. I tell you what, I'll chop it down for you and see how small I can get it, and then if I can get it small enough, I'll ask.
Well, yeah. I was going to ask, what about is there a verbal summary, or is it too much?
Oh, there's an easy verbal summary.
Okay.
I can give an overview of it in less than 3 minutes, I'm certain.
Well, before we move on, if you want to go that direction, I was going to share Mr. Galileo.
Let's go ahead. Share Galileo.
Yep. So the idea of how science is done. So peer review it's a logical fallacy called the appeal to consensus. The idea that if a consensus says something is right, then it must be true. That is never true. It can be true, but it's not true itself. So science doesn't rely on peer review. Science relies on scientific evidence, repeatable observations.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I could bring up Einstein. You know, even if you've got a large group of people that all conduct the same experiment, and they seem like the experiment confirms a general hypothesis, it can still be falsified. And the whole point, the whole endeavor of science, quote unquote, outside of like a religious belief, is to always look to falsify. Where's my Einstein quotes? Here we go. Right here. So even if there is a consensus in a scientific thought or hypothesis, science will never confirm it. That doesn't mean it's true. It just means that we need to do something different to try to falsify it, is all.
Mm-hmm. I believe that's true.
Yep. Just wanted to point that out. Yeah.
I think a person has to have good reason to dispute what is said by quote unquote church fathers, etc. I think you should have a good reason, because they're not unintelligent people and they weren't unstudied. So it is serious.
No,
you know?
So yeah, but I mean, even the Bible points out how they were wrong on occasion. So the caveat is to just ask the source, you know?
Well, I didn't think I had any choice about that in the first place. It seemed like it seems like the instinct. Doesn't it seem like the instinct? Okay, I found a love letter on the ground. I just found a love letter.
Yep.
And it had a couple names in it, and it referred to a bunch of stuff I didn't understand. Right. But one of the names there had a street address. So I took the love letter to that person at that street address, and I said, "Hey, what's this?" And they explained it to me.
Mm-hmm.
They were able to explain it to me because they authored it.
Yep. Exactly.
like God's not confused about the meaning of the Bible. You know what I'm saying?
And that's the unique benefit of Christianity, is that the author is always available.
Sure.
It's God, you know.
That is an interesting observation. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so then we get into the question: is God messing with some of us?
I'd like to summarize that as that God's the perfect gentleman. He does not answer those who genuinely don't want an answer.
That might be true too.
Kind of politely smiles and waits.
Well, I don't know. I'd like to rebut that a little bit and say you don't explain the mechanics of physical sex to a 3-year-old when they ask you where babies come from.
You mean the birds and the bees isn't enough? I mean,
yeah, you use examples of things like storks and cabbages and stuff like that. You don't teach them how to do that verbally. You don't do that. That'll mess up their brain forever.
Yeah.
They are not ready for that. And I think such is the case with us being the children and the Father being the Father, that he has metered this. It's not that he has lied, or he has purposefully withheld information and knows it.
Okay. That's brilliant, I think. Yeah, I see that.
And then he says that he says things repeatedly like, when the time is at hand, we will start having experiences of young men having visions, old men dreaming dreams, or maybe I reversed that, hard to tell. But that he would start more and more revealing greater and greater understanding. Now that doesn't mean he lied to the church fathers. It means they had a very small bit of information and we have more as time goes forward.
Right.
Well, just like science, and yes, religion does change over time in this way. Just like science, we should be correcting. Why do we keep going, well, the church fathers never said what I don't care.
Well, even more expansively, the entire New Testament versus Old Testament fits that model. That
it does. It does.
The Old Testament church fathers or synagogue fathers, whatever you want to call them, they didn't know what Christ was going to do, centuries or millennia later.
Of course not.
God knew, but they didn't.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say I recently watched an old video of Dear Sweet Josh, Smoky Saint guy, talking to his apparently one of his others old we call it arch nemesis, the Jesse Peters guy, I think his name is, and it was cool because Smoky was actually being quite civilized for once, and I have to agree with him.
Can you link me that?
Absolutely, I'll link it to the whole room here. But I was half agreeing with him with most things, and he was kind of talking about what you're describing, the whole church father thing, how we have to rely on scripture, and we can't rely. They were basically kind of arguing about whether you can rely on internal revelation, instead of just like scripture. Oh, okay. Let's see if I can find it. So it kind of fits your topic you're talking about, I think, brilliantly. But here we go. Copy URL. Here you go, everybody.
Peace and respect, Janet and Cheryl. I didn't know there were people watching.
Yep.
Which is fine.
Gavin's
and mountain hours. When I first came in, it was just you and Gavin.
Well, I just linked that. Mm-hmm.
Cheryl Saranchen. Hi. Hi, you two. Oh.
Excellent. Thank you. So I think a person should have to have good reason why they would dismiss a traditional view of something. I think you should have a good reason for that, and not just do it on a whim.
Mm-hmm.
But there's standards for that kind of reasoning, and if you have those reasons, well, then you should challenge. You should challenge the consensus thought.
Yes, I agree. Both in science and in religion.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, that's how I apply my life. And I said this recently. I think even that trying to kind of combat against all of this just religious bigotry out there, both theist and Christian sides, is that all of us, all Christians even, we go through different phases of our life, different understandings of things. We're not always perfectly understanding things. We have to be taught. And I think
we have to be taught things?
Yeah, exactly. I think every reasonable Christian out there will agree with that. So instead of lying about people and trying to beat people down, the Bible is explicit about you need to encourage and help your brothers and sisters to learn these things. And there's all kinds of cool songs out there where about faith to faith and stuff like that. And it's so easily forgotten that to learn you have to question, you have to doubt, you have to be skeptical for science. And so that ties into my other thing. People try to accuse me of worshiping Einstein. No, the guy's just dang right. I love how he puts it, how science is basically the only purpose, only science can only help us know God. The rest are details. So Einstein says he wants to know God's thoughts. So all of the stuff that we do, whether it's to understand the Bible better, to understand anything better, is to understand God better. All of this. It's the whole pursuit of science.
Okay, I got some kind of fault said no results found when I tried that in YouTube.
Let me try again. Oops. Copy URL. I'm going to paste it and double check. Yep, it worked for me.
I'm going to actually blow up a known photo of Smokey Saint.
Yeah.
And the person in this video, which has been claimed to be and been claimed to not be Smokey Saint. And I'm going to take a set of micrometers with the head the same size.
Oh my God!
No, I'm serious. And I'm going to measure the length of the punctum, which is the corner of your eye. Yes, my mom was a science teacher, but
that's awesome, man.
I'm gonna measure the length of the punctum with the heads exactly the same width, and I'm going to compare the punctum length to a known photo of Smokey. And here's why I'm going to do that. There is no muscle to lengthen your punctum. There is no muscle to lengthen your punctum. You simply can't change it. You can wiggle your ears. You can tighten up facial parts. You can wince or raise your eyebrows, but you can't change the length of your punctum.
Of your what?
Yeah, you're quite the interesting construction guy.
The length of your what?
Punctum.
What's that?
You just described it. This is Jill just snapped up. You're talking science.
Where your eyelid dips down, and there's a tear duct there toward your nose. It dips down, and then the bottom eyelid goes almost straight across, some kind of rise up there in a little hill there. Okay. And then it creates a channel, and at the end of that channel is the pink of your eye. That channel right there is called the punctum.
Okay.
Punctum.
Yes,
it's fascinating you mentioned that, because for like camera video analytics, there's a triangle shape right here in the face, and that's one of the static, the seldom changing, like you said, seldom changing features of a face that's used for facial recognition software.
Right. You wouldn't be able to change the width of your eye. That's another good point.
Mrs. Joe's over here making funky faces.
Go ahead and try. You just don't strain yourself though. Don't.
She's awfully cute. All right, so
She is.
This is the section in question where they're talking about that topic. I'll play for a little bit here for everybody's.
Yes.
Okay. Well, then that's invalidating whether or not the Holy Spirit could use someone having a revelation like yourself, a revelation about the necessity of forgiveness and forgiving your parents. And we would say, well, unless it comes from inside, unless it's a revelation from inside, it has no way
right now.
Therefore, whatever Jesse says can be,
Could you pause that?
Disavowed.
Could you pause? Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
This man on this video, this white balding gentleman, he overcame a lisp when he was in his early teenage years.
Okay.
Smokey doesn't have that lisp. So I'm noticing right away. I'd like to take just clean recordings of both voices and do an analysis of just the voices, because this man overcame a lisp. Now, he did a pretty good job of it. But I'm betting the guy in that video there with Jordan Lee had to have speech therapy.
Okay.
I mean, he might have overcome it himself, but there's a pretty good chance he had speech therapy.
Well, maybe.
Do you hear the lingering lisp in his S's and TH's?
Did not.
Listen again sometime. Not right now necessarily. Sorry.
Okay. No,
I'm not trying to be demanding.
No, I can take your word for it. And, I am familiar with speech, analysis software. So, yeah, I mean, maybe we can do a stream on it sometime if it's important enough.
He does have almost the right, depth range and tonality. I'll give you that. He's definitely in the same range.
I liked, what's her name? Sister Sunshine TV's replies to that speculation.
Don't know what it was.
Huh? Oh, she was saying how, because she interviewed him as well with his face. He had a hat on with the lip of the baseball hat kind of over his eyes, but you can still see the rest of his face and stuff like that. So that convinced her that was him as well. And then Smokey Saint tried to file, or this Thick Shades guy said he tried to flag the video for privacy violation. So that's what confirmed that was Smokey to him.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't want to do this, but I can confirm, because Smokey has tried to dox me over the months. And so, well, I guess it doesn't hurt. So every time he's tried to look at some of my professional account stuff, it tells me who looks at my stuff. And so I've been able to, so I've got his address, I've got his picture, I know his grandmother's name based on the analytics that he used to try to look at my stuff with. And I'm never going to use it against him. I'm a good guy, but just saying that I don't know if that's him exactly in that video, but I know that his name is Josh and etc.
It'd be interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd like to take a look at other things.
I'm
presently unconvinced. I'm just saying I'm presently unconvinced.
Okay.
In either direction.
I am convinced I would still like to do the speech analysis test, but again, I am not in the business of trying to attack anybody. Certainly not those that want to attack me. So.
Well, it's irrelevant anyway.
Yes, thank you. Perfect.
I'll tell you right now that I once got a woman pregnant out of wedlock. And I can't swear that it wasn't hormonal changes, or if it was new in our relationship. She finally revealed to me who she was, but I no longer wanted to be with her, not because she was pregnant. I wanted to marry her because she was pregnant, but I found I couldn't be with her because she either actually changed or let herself be known. And either way, I didn't even like her anymore. Never mind love her. And I paid for an abortion. So I'm not, I'm saying that to say I have not been perfect.
Oh yeah. Okay.
you know.
None of us have.
And I think anyone has option of changing at any time. I really do.
Sure. I wished Lena and Smokey would change. Yeah.
I don't know much about Lena. She's always been polite to me, but that's really all that I can say. I don't know anything.
That's typical mobbing, bullying. They pick targets. Like I was kind of saying earlier, people that threaten their dogmas the most is they make their focus for the enemy, and so part of their ability to try to ruin their target is to try to get other people to think that they're nice, to ingratiate themselves with others, so that they can try to turn the whatever community they're in against their target. So
I'm not saying that wouldn't make sense. I would think that would be a necessity.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's all codified. It's part of basic. Again, there's all kinds of formal workplace bullying stuff and psychiatry to it. It's annoying.
Of course.
Yeah.
I understand some of that. Yeah.
But we're not in the workplace, so, so
how to make friends, how to influence people and make friends, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And Mrs. Joel, she's the expert in all this stuff. She tells me just to block them, but so I don't know. Yes, you are an expert.
No.
Okay, expert.
No.
Well, Richard's not an expert, but he's an expert. He's sitting here talking about stuff that challenges me. That's
I am semi-retired and no longer a drip under pressure. So yeah, I guess I am an expert.
Kelly, this man's funny. You're missing it. Did you hear that? She's over there. She's out in her own little world.
Well, because I've got a concert coming up.
I know. Priorities. Teasing. Anyhow, so yeah, no, the point is that they're, like Josh and them, they preach how we don't need the Holy Spirit necessarily. His point in that discussion he had with Jesse was that he wants to always examine everything to the Bible, the biblical revelation, because he's resting on the idea that the Holy Spirit and the God, in general, just wrote the Bible. So he's relying on his own understanding. So I showed some of the Bible verses about that. 1 John 4:1, for example, dear friends, do not believe everyone who claims to speak by the Spirit. You must test them to see if the Spirit they have comes from God. For there are many false prophets in the world. So a lot of fakes, which I would dare say are people like them, will say things that back them up in Scripture that aren't true. And then especially
that's got to be correct once you think about it. That Bible verse, your interpretation of it has to be correct. After all, there is no physical Satan on this planet yet. Satan is influencing this planet. So how is he doing that other than through spreading bad ideas that we sometimes comply and comport with, which is why we do horrible, evil things. But then by necessity, that means we sometimes accidentally pray to Satan.
Well, and certainly
we don't like to think of it that way, but that's what's going on.
Yep, and certainly through behaviors. That was the other part of these other verses they shared was we can test people's spirit, where they're coming from, based on their behaviors that they if that matches what they're supposed to be talking about from God.
Sure.
So another example was 1 John 4:20. He says, if someone says I love God, but hates a fellow believer like me, that person is a liar. For if we don't love people who we can see, how can we love God whom we cannot see? And he has given us this command. Those who love God must love their fellow believers. They try to say, oh, I love you, Joel, by being abusive to you. That's not love.
I'm not sure that's a bad argument for the following reason. I know of, and I'm not speaking specifically of Smokey. I don't know the answer to this question when it comes to, I've never had a chance to actually ask him. But I do know of believers who say they came to belief in God through purely rational means. And I'm not quoting Smokey. I don't know, but he has said something like that in my presence.
Okay.
Which doesn't mean I'm diminishing his belief in God in some way. I don't think so. However, I think personal experience is much more persuasive to a human and an emotional animal than logical evidence.
Yes. And I can reinforce that even. And I was going to thank you again because it is good to try to, and I've been trying to do that myself. We need to keep away from a purely ad hominem type approach where we're talking about anybody in particular, but keep it in generalizations. So the only reason why I even brought that up is to show the generalized, as you just did, and I love that, the generalized conception of these topics from one particular individual that I think a lot of us here are familiar with as an example.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not talking about Smokey specifically necessarily. We're talking about what Smokey and people like him that what they say.
Well, I was actually
I would agree with
quoting.
you. So
I was actually quoting another friend of mine, Justin Downing, who has said that outright several times.
beautiful.
He said he's had no experience of God in a personal way, but has logically come to the must be existence of God.
So what thoughts caused from that? What you're talking about there? So first of all, in science as well, even if you do come to a purely logical, scientifically deducible conclusion, you still have to test it. And to be able to test anything, you have to make it anecdotal. You cannot rely on external. You can't rely on what somebody says.
Right.
You take what somebody says, and then you do your own science for it. If a lot of people don't seem to want to do that these days, but that's what we do in science. So you take the empirical, and then you make it anecdotal. And so you can do the opposite, but we would prefer to go in that one direction. Take your anecdotal observations, test it empirically, make your empirical statement for others to translate that empirical statement back into their own individual anecdotal observation. I like to summarize that by, because people say, "Oh, you're not a scientist. You're not, what's your credential? What's your degree?" All this stupid appeal to accomplish logical fallacies. I always combat that by saying, those of us that are actually in science, we want a kindergartner to be able to demonstrate our scientific conclusions.
Mm-hmm.
We want the science to speak for itself. And so those that do that you're describing, that take strictly an analytical approach to come to faith to Jesus, not only do they need to test that individually to do that, I'm confident that the whole concept of being a quote unquote Christian, outside of all doctrine, outside of all other whatever thoughts, all that means is that you know Christ personally, that you know Christ. Christ knows you. Christ said, "Get away from me. I don't know you." If you know Christ personally as a person, then that makes you a Christian.
Well, that's a rare definition you have, sir.
It is. It's my quote unquote scientific conclusion. I want people to go test it. Jesus said, "Get away from me."
I did not know you.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
or
I'm
have
a
not known
self-proclaimed scientist, Lena, that can talk about all the science stuff that you guys don't. So stop being a jerk, please. Sorry, Richard.
I'm afraid that's going to continue for some time, and not through any will of my own, but just for the state of affairs as they are, that it's just going to continue. I'm not ashamed to apologize for Christians that have said horrible things and condemning things to atheists that they don't know are condemned, because who knows that aside from God?
Exactly.
And I'm not ashamed to apologize for any misunderstanding that I have and anything I might misspeak now, in past, or in the future, And the best that I can hope for is that and the best that you can hope for is to die in your sleep. The best that I could hope for, is to attempt to not disappoint in the future. That's the best that I can hope for, and I will be doing that.
Well, thank you, sir. That is my definition of a person being civilized. So thank you.
That's okay. Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, you are the gentleman.
So I think that it's true that none of us know all of the truth about the Bible.
Right.
And in fact, if you did, you are Christ.
There you go.
And since you're not, I think I can grant that pretty easily. Then you don't know all of it, and you don't have an objective understanding. And all of what Christ has to reveal didn't even make it into the text. So you literally can't have that.
Right.
Without prayer, and then comparing that to the Bible, to morality, to reality, in some kind of probably a correspondence theory to the physical things that you expect evidence for, and in philosophy and things that in the immaterial ideas and constructs. And that's a lot of work. I don't see people doing that,
No, You remind me of John 21:25. Jesus also did many other things. If they were all written down, I suppose the whole world could not contain the books that would be written.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah, that
God-
wouldn't be a 10-pound book. It would be a large library.
Planet-sized.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah, no, thank you. I agree with all of that. And I like to further expand on that. That again, everybody, all of us, including myself included, if anybody is in quote unquote error, the only Christian thing to do is to try to correct somebody in love, kindly, patiently. The exact opposite of what all these other wonderful priests out there, self-proclaimed priests. How's that? I don't know. There's Christ-like ways of teaching, and then there's. And I'm reluctant to even say that because there's all kinds of other debates going on about that right now. How loving Christ was, for example, versus etc. But I don't want to get into that. My apologies. Did you still want to talk about this Mr. Arp guy?
Yeah. Halton Chip Arp. What is his one of his names? Christian is in there somewhere, but I don't know where it belongs.
That is, yep. Chip is
Christian Halton Chip, something like
Halton,
that.
Christian is his middle name. Halton Christian Arp.
Halton Christian. Okay.
Passed away in 2013.
Yeah. He had a lot to say about the previous understanding of expansion of the universe, and said some really interesting things. Anyone I think today who says things like we have proven, etc. And they're quoting something that's probably 20, 30, 40 years old. Should really look into Halton Chip Arp and also, as you said, the actual science, not just a summation, not just an opening statement about a paper, but the actual paper concerning the cosmic microwave background radiation. Like really look into it. Don't assume that the popular. There's a reason there's a magazine called Popular Science. Does anybody know what the reason for the magazine's title being Popular Science is? Do you know what that means? It means a really shallow view of the actual science. That's what the words popular science means. They're looking at it as academic, like it popular language, which doesn't get into the details and doesn't actually teach you anything. And if you only read what's popular, you don't understand it, period.
Yes, sir. See, that's a perfect segue. I was going to say I used to subscribe to that magazine, but I stopped because
they went woke. Yeah.
Well, not only that, but it got boring. So
that would get boring real quick if you're actually into it.
Yeah,
you know.
Popular Mechanics was good for a while, but
Popular Science is like, I don't know, maybe just above or contained within high school level thought, which is fine. It's a beginning. It's not a bad beginning if you look at it as a beginning. But if you think that's the total answer, it's like a high school student that said, "Oh, there's no such thing as college." Yeah. Well, you're just wrong about that, and you're not done looking into it.
All right. So I've been kind of perusing some other articles here about Mr. Arp, and he's vindicated, I guess, the whole basis. It looks like
that's good to know.
Yeah, his active galactic nuclei, for example, that's right. Confirmed. You know, there is a plane to the universe, and then the whole idea. So he's basing a lot of the counter assumptions, as you were putting it, to the redshift sources. Well, it's been it's before I was born, and which is annoying to highlight your point. As I was growing up, as I was becoming a scientist myself, I'm still told we're still taught these things about redshift things that are just false. So you have to become kind of seasoned into it, and then we realize so redshift, for example, that only works for local sources. It only works for observable light as it's coming into our eyeballs or into our instruments. It doesn't explain the light that's not reaching our instruments, which there is. There's plenty of other stuff out there that we have to use these space telescopes to try to observe the other wavelengths and stuff out there that's outside of just natural light to be able to know what's out there. The stuff that's beyond redshift,
Yeah. Well,
can't
it
use
seems
redshift.
to me that this is something that maybe this was prayer, maybe it was my own brain. Sometimes it's kind of hard to tell if I don't have a testing method.
Hmm.
But this occurred to me, and I don't have a way to test it, but I believe it's true. If you used some part of a scale to measure something,
Mm-hmm.
and every subsequent measurement had to use some other portion of the same scale, and you could never lengthen the scale. And of course, I'm talking about electromagnetism here.
Yeah.
You can't lengthen that scale. The scale is what the scale is. At some increment of usage, at some repetition of increment of usage of that scale, you just ran out of scale.
That's exactly what I was just describing. Yes, sir.
So you could never say, oh, all of the universe is red shifted, because that light would never get to you.
This is exactly it. There's
Oh,
spectrum well
That's
beyond
what
just
you're trying to say. Okay.
Mm-hmm. You got it.
Well,
In fact,
that happened in my head. It may have been God. It may have been I've been reviewing too much stuff. I can't really tell sometimes, but that came into my head 2.5 years ago or something like that. Yeah, right there. Like, there you go. Okay, so let's say every redshift was 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let's say the total scale there is what is it, 300 or 400? Let's say 400. Let's round up. We'll say 400, right? So if the total scale is 400 and every redshift uses 3, how many can you have? Well, you can obviously have about 130.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, 130 measurements out, you're off the scale. You can't have more than that. So how far do you get before you get about a 3 out of the total scale in redshift?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you get it's something really, really tiny in astronomical terms. I think it was something like in order for something to be redshifted from our perspective, it only need be something like 3 million light years away.
Well,
I can't remember the actual number. That's an example. Don't quote that. But my point,
assumption. But yeah.
Well, my point. Well, they triangulate and they say things like that, but it's something like that. I don't know what the actual number is, but my point still remains that no matter what the measurement is, if you use some part of the scale, you can't just keep using more and more chunks out to eternity. It doesn't work, and you don't get near 1 billion years with this.
Well, it's just that, yeah, trying to measure things with just this part of the spectrum,
right,
is myopic at best. So there are other things further away than that have not transmitted their light to us yet, and we have to use other ways of measuring it. And just as a cute little thing, so this scale that we're talking about,
right,
is also infinite in both directions. It's perpetually small and perpetually large. The scale doesn't end.
Are you saying that we haven't found everything that exists in electromagnetism yet?
Exactly. You can't.
You can't. Why not?
Because again, it's infinite. There's an infinite range of frequency.
Okay. Okay. So we're talking about the length of a wave, right?
Yes, correct.
And there could be such a compact wave that to our dull, old, barely crappy working, I mean, compared to God's stuff, crappy work, we can't tell the difference between the spike and the lull, the wave and the lull in a wave form.
Yes. The theoretical minimum.
So we can't even tell how big the electromagnetic range is. Is that what you're saying?
Well, we can tell because it's infinite, but the only way to try to kind of codify or simplify that. So there is a theoretical max Planck point.
Okay.
Planck point, whatever Planck length, but all that is it's literally an assumption that it gets to the point where the period of the wavelengths are so small that it gets to a point where it's just not relevant anymore. They can still get smaller. You can have something smaller than the Planck length, but it's like, why bother? Kind of thing. It still is infinitely small, infinitely large. So yeah, it's cool.
Never thought about it. That was an interesting thought.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
Never thought about it. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, I'm gonna see myself to the side door, and I appreciate you letting me come in and
Yes.
and letting our brains mingle a little bit. It was fun.
Yes, sir. Thank you. You were an answer to my prayer for this evening, to somebody to help give some interesting thoughts and challenge some science. And yeah, thank you.
Well, hopefully I can come back sometime and say more things that sound crazy to a bunch of folks. Hopefully.
Yes.
All right. Peace and
Always
respect, and
welcome.
good night, sir. And spoil the wife rotten, eh?
Uh-oh. She's got her
Wait,
headphones on
do
now.
you guys have children as well? Do you guys have children?
Only 8.
Yeah. What? Do you know what's causing it?
I don't. Hey,
Yeah.
Richard's asking if we know what causes our children.
I don't want to find out.
Yeah.
It'll take all the fun
Come
out.
on.
Well, maybe we should go experiment.
You guys have 8 natural children. You're serious?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well,
Thank you
that's
so
more
much for
fun
all
than
your
the
dad
fun.
and mom
Yeah.
work.
Did you hear Mrs. Joe's question for you?
No.
Is that
I was picking on him.
but repeat it if you want.
I was just teasing. I'm like, is that opposed to unnatural children?
Yes, opposed to unnatural children. Some people have unnatural children. That is, they adopted.
Oh, okay. We're actually talking about adopting. Well, kind of half-heartedly, I guess, but my brother adopted some kids. But
I think it's obvious to thank moms for all their work and child labor and raising children and everything else. That one's obvious. But in this world today, they've made it way too easy for the male to get a woman pregnant and escape. So I want to especially thank you, not because you did more work, but because you opted to do the work you do need to do.
Okay. Thank you.
And
Yes,
in the eyes of a child, never forget that you're Superman and Superwoman.
Yes, man. I'm sure. Yeah, my kids call me a mega nerd. Or Matt, you're a mega nerd. That's how he puts it. He's the one left in the household. They're all written down now. Yeah.
Well, congratulations on that, and peace and respect to you both. And I'll come back around and see you guys sometime. Have a great night.
You have a good one. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Good night.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. All right. So what's next then? Anybody else got a topic? I'm gonna continue researching this Mr. ARP guy.
I got a quick aside.
Uh-oh.
You guys want to hear something amazing? Look up a song called Malaguena, and it's performed by. Hang on,
Is this one of those new sea shanties you're into?
No. This.
How do I spell it?
Malaguena.
N-A?
Yep.
Is that one of those Hispanic things you've been listening to?
Yeah, no, not that one. Here, let me find it for you. Give me a sec.
Oh gosh, I gotta go bathroom.
It is. Give me a sec. Right here. By Madison Scouts, Drum and Bugle Corps, 1988.
Oh, this is the one you've been listening to like 500 times in a row,
Yes.
hasn't it?
Well, we just played it in Banditos in the game, and it was an incredible MIDI. I mean, oh my gosh.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, that's it.
I will play it for a couple of minutes to see who else shows up while I run to the little boy's room.
Okay. Remember not to play it for too long.
That's what I'm saying. I was going to go to the bathroom and play the first part of it.
Okay.
This is the band concert version of it. She's been playing forever.
Yep. So we made a brilliant MIDI of this song. Now you can wait.
Well, whoops, what happened? Error occurred, playback, whatever. Okay, refresh.
I hope it works.
My StreamYard's still going. Or my whatever broadcast. Yeah. It's acting like my internet died. But
Mine's still up.
yeah, no, mine's still up too.
All right, well, go use the restroom. Fiddle with that after you're done, darling.
Well, I don't want to give, we call it blink air noise.
Yeah, I understand.
There it goes. She's saying this is the amazing part, the drum line.
Well, the whole thing,
Yeah.
but you can't play the whole thing.
I love those angled tubas. I had to play the, what's it called? There's a white version of a tuba that wraps around your body. It starts with a C. If it's called cell something. See right there. Hispanic cheerleaders, right there. Those guys. I want one of those. If I had to get back in a marching band, that's what I'd do. I'd play that instrument. So, all right.
Thank you for sharing that little bit. It's
Yeah.
a beautiful song. Y'all, highly recommend. You
She
guys
said
go check it
y'all.
out.
She said, "Y'all." What?
Yeah.
See, denying it? Are you not? You're not denying it any longer.
I don't have a choice but to admit.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You finally give in. She used to always say, screenshot didn't count. So now these YouTube videos. Oh. Anyhow, so let's see here. I'm getting some more guff.
Ignore it, seriously.
Well, and yeah, I wish your ability to argue is as high as your opinion of yourself is, and it's not much of a fantasy. Blah blah blah. Well, that's pretty ridiculous.
It's never going to stop until you just block it and let it go.
Well,
Why
I
don't you
understand.
block it?
I'm trying to let them help prove the contrast
Yeah,
with the crazies.
it already has been done. You're good.
All right, so back to more important stuff is to find those that want to talk about cool scientific discussions, which includes stuff about God. So, yeah. So again, the past century now, at minimum, quantum physics has confirmed that everything is literally thought. Everything are someone's thoughts being transmitted through information. So everything is literally information, and information is classically defined as data that's transferred from a sender to a receiver. So that requires two intelligences, which reminds me of Schrodinger. I need to get some more memes going. I don't have this as a meme yet. Schrodinger, hold on, not Schroeder. Schrodinger. I can't define it. Erwin Schrodinger. There we go. E-R-W-I-N. There we go. Science is a game. Can I expand this and try to share it? Hold on. So people can follow along. The visual learners can read this. Hold on. Oh, where's that? Oh, I lost it now. I zoomed in. I lost it. Where the heck did it go? Jastrow, Eddington, Milne, Gingrich. Where'd you go, Erwin? There you are. Okay, I'm gonna try to share this and blow it up so everybody can see it. Share screen. Boom shakalaka. All right. Science is a game, but a game with reality, a game with sharpened knives. If a man cuts a picture carefully into 1,000 pictures or pieces, you solve the puzzle when you reassemble the pieces into a picture. In the success or failure, both your intelligences, that's what reminded me of this, the sender and the receiver, compete in the presentation of a scientific problem, the information. The other player is the good Lord. He has not only set the problem, but also has devised the rules of the game. But they are not completely known. Half of them are left for you to discover or to deduce. The uncertainty is how many of the rules God himself has permanently ordained, and how many apparently are caused by your own mental inertia, while the solution generally becomes possible only through freedom from its limitations. In other words, get away from dogma. This is perhaps the most exciting thing in the game. Amen. So yeah, that is the scientific confirmation of the Lord God. That there is a being, an entity, a mind, whatever you want to call it, a consciousness. There is a person out there that has codified all of this stuff, all this nature, all of these laws, all of these observations. The ability to observe has been codified and created by an observer. What are you giggling about?
That's something Piggy said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, she's awfully distracting over there. I'll tell you what.
Well, I just giggled a little.
Just a little.
Yeah.
It's cute. I don't mind your giggle. I like your giggles. It gives me some time to bring up this guy's freaking quote. Speaking of those that want to pretend if there's not a God out there or not, it says there are not many options, essentially just two. Either human intelligence ultimately owes its origin to mindless matter, or there is a creator. It is strange that some people claim that it is their intelligence that leads them to prefer the first rather to the second. Amen. So yeah.
And you're busting out the big guns now with John Lennox.
That's a normal guns.
I love John Lennox.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff. Yep.
He is probably the best apologist I've ever heard. He's kind. He's generous. He gets his opponent. He got freaking Richard Dawkins, of all people, to admit that Jesus is real.
Gets him to laugh and relax and everything. He's just, very effective.
Yep. John Lennox got Richard Dawkins to invalidate basically a lifetime of false religion from Dawkins in one debate. I take that back, he said. Dawkins said, Jesus exists. Boom. Might play that clip, but still, that was just brilliant.
People are ordering off my taco truck, and it's hilarious.
How do you order off your taco truck?
They just pretend to.
They pretend to.
Mm-hmm.
You are extraordinarily interesting, young old lady.
Well, I got people. Somebody made a salsa bar pet.
Oh my
Somebody made a
gosh.
tequila worm pet. Somebody made did I already say tequila truck? A tequila truck, the tequila worm,
Yeah.
salsa bar. Who else? Of course, my taco truck.
I'm starting to have a serious, scientific
And
discussion
your
about.
wife's a goofball.
And I love
know.
it. I love it. We're like two different galaxies over here. It explains why our children might be so interesting, right? Yeah.
Definitely.
Who's the most interesting child? I guess I can't.
You
It's
can't
not
do
nice
that.
to do that, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're all interesting in their own ways, but
Yep. Oh yeah, this song is good. I don't know how to pronounce that. Fuiste? I'm not sure.
do you
Really
think if there's like a range, like a scientific category of types of children, if that exists, do you think we might have them all by now? There's like different.
Probably not all of them, no.
Yeah.
There's billions and billions of different people in the world.
Well, I mean, so that's a question for your field of science. You're your stuff all deals in systems. There's 8 MBTI types. There's 9 Enneagram types. There's cognitive.
No, there's 16 of BTI types.
Thank you. Okay, I knew it was something to do with 8. Well, the point is that there are codified numbers and groups of personality types. So why wouldn't there be like a number of children types? I guess I don't know. You laughing at me or them?
Placo's picking on me.
Okay. All right.
Sorry.
I'll leave her alone.
No, please don't.
She's
I
off.
enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're off in your own little world.
Well, I'm trying to do both.
Yes, sir, Gavin. Sorry I didn't respond to that earlier, man. That's the point that I want to try to emphasize, not just my channel, but preferably everybody else's. But we can agree to disagree, which I hate that phrase, but we can disagree in a civilized manner, whether we're Christian or not. I think it's what Christ commands us when he says to love your neighbor, love your enemy as yourself. So whether that means whether they're a Christian or not, we have to be nice to them. Well, not nice necessarily, but civilized towards them. And being a civilized person means that you will defend yourself. You'll go to war if you have to, but you try to avoid it. Seek peace. There's a Bible verse. It says always seek peace. What's that one, Kelly?
Pardon?
That's your favorite one.
Pursuing Peace? What?
Yeah. What's that Bible verse?
I'm not sure. Pursuing Peace Bible.
Ooh, Hebrews 12:14. Work at living in peace with everyone, and work at living a holy life. For those who are not holy will not see the Lord. Or another translation says, make every effort to live in peace with everyone and to be holy. Without holiness, no one will see the Lord. How them apples, Mr. Gavin? If you're still here. Here for you. Hebrews 12. Come on, type Joel. Hebrews. Why is Hebrews being misspelled, Mr. YouTube? What am I doing? Oh, there's no W in the beginning part. Okay. 12:14. All right, so I need a new topic, Kelly. I've got an audience, but no one's talking, so they're just listening. You got anything?
No, I don't. I'm sorry.
Valid.
All right. Let's see here. I guess I can. Let's see here. Mr. Praise is talking about defending once saved, always saved. The drag and drop test. John Paul. I was thinking about asking him if he wanted to join my channels. Him and I have been best friends for 30 years now. Oh my gosh. Met him back when I was in high school. And he's been a missionary. He's been all over the planet. All my best friends are all missionaries of different places. And he has some very old videos. He's the guy I used to do street ministry with. In Houston, he used to work for the local Christian KLTJ station there. And he had a TV show they gave him called The 11th Hour. And so he would take his studio cameras, the real fancy, 35 millimeter cameras, and he'd go to the streets. His old philosophy was that if the church wouldn't go out to minister to the lost in the street, he would bring the lost in the street to the church. I loved it. So he'd go out and he'd do a live interview, man on the street type of interviews. This is back in the late 80s, early 90s, and just interview non-believers. And some of the worst, seemingly possible places. He'd go to all the gay bars and all the places that were the most hostile to Christians, and it was fun. We led so many people to the Lord. The fun part was you first get there, they see the KLTJ, crew trucks and all the logos, and they're like, "Oh, you're a bunch of evil, stupid, bigoted Christians. You guys, what are you doing when you get here?" All the stuff you get here, all the hate you get on YouTube. But as soon as they turn that light on and the camera and put and handed them the microphone, they turned into your best friend. It's awesome. And then what was cool, even cooler than that, was that after you proved to them that you not only cared about them as a human being, much less whatever they wanted to say, and you gave them the forum, an unrestricted forum, they saw by example that, hey, no, these Christians, they do care. They're not just here to preach. They're not here to tell me that I'm wrong, that I'm going to hell. We never told them they're going to hell. We just wanted them to share their perspective, their reasons for their beliefs. And then we told them, yeah, we're going to air this on the Christian TV studio so that everybody that watches the Christian show, they can see what you think directly. Cut through all of the stereotypes, all the biases. You tell us what you want, not just Christians, but everybody to know. It was a public broadcast, and they loved it. And once you get past those barriers, those religious barriers, then which atheists have religious barriers too, and you realize you have that human connection that I think Christ is what his whole ministry is based on. He made that human connection. He came to earth as a human to make that connection. Once you do that, people open up, and you get through all those boundaries and whatever, those barriers, and you can tell them the truth. God loves you. God doesn't want you to go to hell. No, it's the opposite. And oh my gosh, and it's just fun. They just pour their life stories out to you, and it's just make a lot of really good friends. Yeah. I like that, Gavin. Well, so that's the whole point of having civilized conversations. We need to minimize talking about people and talk about generalizations. That's how you avoid ad hominem logical fallacy. Mr. J Paffig, he blew up one of my comment walls recently, 100 plus comments again, wanting to try to basically gaslight the idea that ad hominem fallacies aren't always false. I'm like, no. All fallacies are lies. All logical fallacies are false. So you have to avoid that.
Good evening.
What else is going on? Squirrel maze update. Making carbon dioxide. Nerds go clubbing. China is trying to copy some SpaceX designs again. That's fun. It's the latest on tech space. Some news about the top players in quantum computing. Quantum computers are cool. They are extraordinarily fast, of course, but they are very limited on their capability. They're not an actual computer. They're more like a calculator than a computer. You can put in a very small deviation of data points that it can process, but it won't be able to do anything outside of those data points. I don't believe a quantum computer, quote unquote, will ever be, certainly not the quantum ones today, like IBM's Q1, for example. They'll never be Turing complete. They'll never be able to use random access memory and things like that.
Good evening.
Good evening, darling.
That's Teeny. He's wild in the game, but you get him a voice. He's like, good evening. Or formal like.
Art of engineering. How SpaceX lands rockets with astonishing accuracy. We wish it was astonishing. I talked about that briefly the other day. The AI for the self-landing rocket boosters. It's only $1 million avionics package. It's not that much. There are more complicated avionics packages out there for other platforms, but a rocket landing is pretty darn cool. South Korean soldiers encounter Australia's most dangerous something. Wildlife. Let's go turkey. Yeah. Random topic while I'm waiting for somebody.
Robot.
He's sarcastic. He doesn't seem very dangerous.
기록은 돌아가는 거 아니겠지?
No, they paused for him to pass their firing range. That was cute. Oh, South Koreans. Huh. I wonder if there's some sort of dispute going on. What I could do is, we're talking about the Jesse versus Josh. See if I can find it again. I can make a separate, I can basically download it and then rebroadcast it. Yeah, still works for me. You talking about the Jesse Josh video, Mountain Hours, or something else making an error? Maybe you have to subscribe to Thick Shades, as I am subscribed. No, I'm not. I'm not subscribed to him. Thought it was, but no. The subscribe button is just red. So why can I access but others can't? Is it cached? Let me play a part I haven't played yet. So I have not watched the whole thing. I didn't want to. I hope this doesn't screw up my access to it. It's not loading now.
Seems to there's some lag or something tonight.
Well, it's YouTube lag. I can try playing a portion for it, Mountain, if you're interested, but let me know. Otherwise, I'm running out of ideas for it. Again, I was trying to hope to attract some just people in general that wanted to talk about other topics, other scientific topics preferably, but Oh.
What?
Yeah. My stream did die, didn't it? Yep.
Yeah, there is some lag going on, darling. Definitely.
Well, I just refreshed it.
Yeah.
I-
Sorry, y'all. We're having
yeah.
connection issues.
Well, I don't know if it's mine or okay. You're talking about my stream. I thought because somebody else was saying that the Jesse Josh thing was an error too. I just refreshed my what do you call it connection to my own YouTube thing, and it
Is it dying again?
it was working, but now it's
Ah.
yeah. Am I sounding steady in StreamYard? Can you guys confirm my StreamYard is solid? An error occurred. Please try again. Playback, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I'm asking chat in case. What about you, Kelly?
Pardon?
Can you confirm if the YouTube side is...
Yeah, give me a second. Let me just,
Test.
What about you, Kelly?
Pardon?
Yeah. I refresh it and it comes back.
Give me a sec, darling.
Yeah, all streams are having issues. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let me just go ahead and say something in just a moment. It's still trying to load.
Mountain Cheryl saying it might be happening in general.
Yeah, look, I'm having trouble bringing you up.
Yep. Google is having some issues.
They don't
So there's, yeah. This is an interesting topic, maybe.
What's that?
What would,
You're not on.
yeah.
But tell me anyway, till it refreshes. What's up?
Well, and I'm hoping that StreamYard records this separately
That'd be nice.
so that when I close the stream, it'll be solid. But, what would be the consequence? What would things be like if Google were to shut down? Google, YouTube, all the popular big tech stuff, Facebook, even Instagram. If all of that went away for some reasons, just they screwed up their own platform, you know, not any particular like attack or anything, just something happened to cause big tech to go away. How would that affect things?
Well, do you remember when you were a kid before we had all this?
Uh-huh.
That's how it would go.
Yeah. Back to bulletin board services and IRC chat.
No, and people
Prodigy.
would have to, like, you know, be kind to each other and, you know, associate with their neighbors and their families and, you know, read books.
Okay. Well, can y'all hear me in StreamYard? It may just be a temporary glitch, hopefully. I don't know. But again, hopefully StreamYard is recording it separately. We'll see later. Oh, excuse me. Starlink, a deep look at SpaceX's Internet of the Future.
Yes, Steve.
You go, Kelly.
What's this?
Reformed Ryan. Hello, sir.
Hello, Joel. How are you?
I'm good.
I don't know why, but I'm not hearing you on my end. I don't have a lot of time. This place is closing in about 4 or 5 or 6 minutes, so I'm going to have to run out. But I did make a video inviting you to my channel if you'd like to come. Of course, I don't really have time to chat right now, but I did want to come in to say hello and extend the invitation to you if you like.
Okay.
I unfortunately have to go because they're closing here, but I did want to let you know I didn't want to have a discussion with you. No smoky, nothing like that. Just you and me. So
Regarding
you're invited on my channel if you'd like to come. I put my Skype ID on that video if you wanted to communicate with me there. So I'm sorry I can't hear you. I don't know. It must be my end, but I'm gonna go ahead and run out. I'm gonna talk to y'all another time. This place is closing, so I got to go. Y'all take care.
All right. Yeah, I'm getting a notice here. My account has been terminated because it is linked to an account that received multiple third-party claims of copyright.
Oh, your boys are trying to silence you again.
Is that what it is? Here, let me share it.
Yeah.
I got StreamYard here. Looking for, what's it doing? I was doing this. Yeah, check it out. Woohoo.
Here, while we do this, let me readjust Taco Truck.
This account has been
100
terminated.
kisses.
It's linked to an account. So it's not that I violated third-party claims. I'm just linked to an account that has. That's interesting. Huh. Let's see here. If I go to my channel. See, I can still go to my channel. Still all got my content there. I wonder if that's just like a glitch. Let's see here. How can I... Okay, YouTube Studio. Let's go there. Dashboard, content. Usually if I've got a violation notification, it's usually here. And I don't see one. Uploads. Here's my live. Restrictions. Okay, see details. Okay, so this one says there is a copyright summary status. This content was, it just says that it's ineligible for monetization, but it is visible to the public. So, fine. I don't care. I'm not trying to make money on YouTube. I'm not seeing any, we call it things. We call it violation stuff. So yeah, hopefully it's just a weird glitch. Yeah, none of my videos have any. They're all public. No. Huh? Poor Kelly. I might. Checking my comments. I do get all the ankle biters out there. They'll post. I'll get a notification of their post to one of my comment sections, and then I go check it out. It's gone. So like YouTube is deleting their posts. So it's annoying. Which everybody's telling me to delete them, block them from my account anyway. So I don't know. All right, I was trying to look up Richard's or Ryan's, excuse me, account. Okay, YouTube. Okay, so that notice is no longer there. Let's look up, what's his name? Something Ryan? Restoring Ryan? Let me history real quick. Formed Ryan. Those Smokey's ex guy. Okay, so now it's working. Yeah, weird. All right. So yeah, if you're still listening, Mr. Ryan, I see it now. And I see the open invitation. You did 6 days ago. Goodness gracious. There's a lot of people that have my email if you want to share that. But yeah, I think so, Cheryl. It's just some weird glitch. It's my streaming. Let me refresh real quick. Nope. I'm not seeing my own stream. Or what brings the quality down? You're saying Mountain Hours himself does, or something else does? Ugh.
Oh no, she's telling Mountain Hours to bring the quality of the video.
Oh, okay, good.
Hopefully make
See?
it work. Yeah.
Text removes inflection. That could have come.
Yeah.
That could have gone so many different ways. Mountain Hours is a good guy. So yeah. All right. No, it's not. It's not refreshing on my end too. What about yours, Mrs. Joel? If you mind doing a quick video check. That was funny. That reminded me of the first time I got on the key panels at SpaceX.
Mhm.
Remember they're all going silly about it.
What about them? Oh,
Like Brandon and them were like, they're all saying, radio, I was a radio announcer voice.
yes, that was cute.
So,
That was really cute.
yeah, so they're about TV or radio. Would you mind checking my channel real quick on your
They're
end?
like, dang, baby, you got some fries to go with that shit.
That's right.
Okay, hang on.
Yeah. Well, we'll clear it up later, hopefully.
I doubt they can even hear you, darling.
Well,
Because I can't hear you at all.
yeah.
Yeah.
You have to hear me on StreamYard, yeah.
Ask if they can.
Well,
in type.
I
Ask
have.
If they can hear.
I can keep going for a while. If you guys wanted to, I guess, hear me blabber about something, just give me a topic. But otherwise, I'm thinking of going ahead and closing this to see if it'll jostle whatever connection thing going on between StreamYard and YouTube. So yeah, I'll go check out Mr. Ryan's thing. Hopefully, he's not just trying to fuel the drama.
Well, that's why they're trying to get you banned on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. The atheist and the theist religious freaks,
Yeah.
troll freaks, can't have a civilized conversation,
No.
so their only effort is to try to demagogue and demonize and
silence.
silence
Ooh, yeah.
the infidels to their religion. Yep. The fake Christians out there. It's all the same. A lot of atheists, they'll pretend to be Christian for the social benefits and to basically try to attack their enemy from within. Classic strategic, tactical, psychological warfare maneuvers. That's all it is. Psychological warfare. American soldiers, will grow a beard, will dress like a haji, like a Muslim guy, or as even the Oriental American soldiers will dress as a Chinese guy, whatever ethnicity is required, and go in, quote unquote, undercover as a military counterintelligence asset, to try to act and agree with and believe with whatever social structure they're trying to infiltrate. They'll sound like a Buddhist. They'll sound like a communist. They'll say all the right words. They'll sound like a Muslim. They'll do or whatever thing they want to try to infiltrate. So atheists will do that with Christians. They'll sound like a Christian. They'll pretend they are, but their goal is to undermine and to collect information. And when they can't do that effectively, when they can't cause the strife and the harm that these literal intelligence operatives are trying to do, they'll shut you down. There's a point where counterintelligence operations aren't feasible anymore. And that's when you just you kill people. You stop them with military force instead of psychological warfare. You go into conventional warfare. That's basically all that's going on. So if they're successful and they kill us, they knock us out, whatever, that's all this is God's enemies using psychological warfare to the point that they have to switch to conventional warfare, essentially, or technological warfare, whatever you want to call it. So we'll keep going. There's other mediums. Again, that's why most of my close personal friends and fellow scientists, engineers, and stuff, they don't want to join this because of the drama. Yeah. And I don't blame them. I don't know if you heard me earlier, Kelly. I was talking about how I think maybe I'm a little less susceptible to it because of my military experience. I'm experienced in terrorism drama.
Okay, I don't know. Can Cheryl hear you? Because I can't get yours to load still.
Did you see that message I just typed?
Hang on. Yeah, I see you were typing, and I see Mountain Hours too.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't heard you at all.
All right. Hopefully this records. If not, oh well. BRB.